Hi everyone, Chicken here. In the last lesson, we covered some composition rules and techniques for creating more depth in our painting. In this lesson, we will be starting with finding good references and using them to create a few character sketches. I like to use Pinterest to gather most of my references and inspiration. I have a board for people references and nice art, and now my feed is mostly curated to the kind of pictures that I like already. But if you are just starting out, I recommend searching keywords like people photography, aesthetic, and fantasy. You can start a Pinterest board and expand your reference gallery slowly. Like art styles or studying, a great way to use references is to take little elements from many different pictures to use in your painting. For example, you can use the perspective and camera angle from one reference and change up the pose, the mood, or the setting. You can see how I took elements from many references to create this illustration. For the demo today, all I knew was what character I wanted to draw. So I headed to Pinterest, and within my pins, I found this really nice reference. It kind of sparked the idea to have my character picking flowers with a basket like that. So now that I have my general idea, I can go back to Pinterest and start looking for other references that can accommodate my idea. For example, because I knew I wanted my character to be holding that basket of flowers, I was looking for references where the model is holding something or interacting with some flowery elements. I was also looking out for references for the background, so I found a few of some flower gardens. Usually, you can find quite a lot of good female references from searching the term girl photography, or you can even include the term 微博 in your search, and you get lots of pictures of Asian models in really aesthetic and kind of fantasy settings. After I gathered all my references, I put them in a collage. I use this app called VisRef, which is made for artists and is really useful, but it needs to be purchased. If you don't want to make that purchase, you can always just open all the pictures up in Procreate and save the image to use as reference with the iPad split screen function. Just select all your images, drag it to Procreate, and it will import in. Then you can arrange them as a collage. And we can save this and use it as reference while we draw. Now I'll just demonstrate how I'll use these references to create 4 different thumbnail sketches. I'll create a few frames here. And I'll create a clipping mask layer so that we can only draw within the frames. I'll start with the first reference that gave me the idea, and I'll start sketching. I really like the overall pose, so I'm gonna go with something similar to that. And I'll keep the camera angle kind of the same too. We don't have to go into too much detail. You can see here I drew the face really simply. I really like that hair ribbon thing from the model, so I decided to add that to my character as well. And I don't spend too much time on each one, maybe over 3 minutes. But you can take your time. Just don't go into too much detail, as for now we are just planning the overall composition. always like to change up at least one element of the pose, just so we can create something new. In this sketch, I kinda just adjusted her hand position a little bit. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always just stick to the original pose. That's completely fine too. Here, I'm just going to draw in the foreground elements. So she's kind of leaning over to pick the flower from this bush, and very simply I'll just outline the shape of the background, and I think I'm gonna have that be some flowery bushes. Referencing the previous lesson, you can see that I put most of the high elements of the background at the side and the lower elements at where my character is, so that we can distribute the visual weight better. And I think I'm ready to move on. So for the second sketch, I'll find another pose. Similarly, I'm gonna follow this pose pretty closely. I like how she's clutching the basket. Again, I'm not putting in too much effort to make the face pretty. It's just a plan, and later we can spend more time to beautify everything. I really liked how the hair ribbon looked in the previous sketch, so I'm bringing it into this one too. In the background of my reference, there's that curved circular element that that branch makes, and I really like that. So I'm gonna try to add in some shapes in my background too. And it just so happened that the other reference that I saved, the one for the background, had some wooden cross fence that I thought was really pretty, so I included that into my sketch too. And for the third sketch, I found this reference and I thought it would be cute if she was looking at her chicken, cause I wanted to include the chicken in all the sketches. And same for the fourth one, I'll be following the pose pretty similarly. Okay, so I kind of realized that the pose wasn't really working for me, so I just started over. I used the model in the background reference as inspiration. I was thinking maybe a back view could look nice too. Even though these are just rough sketches, we still want each of them to hold its own in terms of the composition. And already I like this a lot better, so I'm just gonna go with it. Again, I push the visual weight of the background to the sides, and I also included that crossed wooden fence. So from just one initial reference and idea, we created 4 different thumbnails. For the mission, create a collage of references and use them to create 4 different thumbnail sketches. You can include a little description about what your idea is. In this lesson, we use various references to create a new idea and sketched out some thumbnails. In the next lesson, we will move on to detailing our thumbnail sketch to prepare it for painting.